Okay, so thank you very much for the invitation to this DevCon group. This is so excited to for me, and it's a huge honor just to try your host to share. And yes, sometimes my wife hates me because I just break things in the house or block things or apply things to the network and she's always screaming, "What are you doing now?" And I was like, "Wait, it was just a test. I'm going just to turn down. Sorry for the bother." So yeah, that's me. So this presentation it's how to analyze files and malware without fail in assembly. So my first uh, disclosure, it's this presentation, it's not for elite people, it's not for hackers, fuxers, and so no knowledge people. It's for people that want to learn something new, that want to start in this malware analyst world, and also trying to bring down some myths about this kind of career or this kind of topic, because sometimes a lot of people when talk about malware analysis or reverse engineer, a lot of us just scare and tremble about the huge skills that you need just for this kind of things. But you don't need that much of skills. You can start with these things that I'm going just to explain. So who am I? Well, I just start messing around with computers and being really headache for my parents and now for my wife since 2006. So, and I keep learning, and that's a really good point, that it doesn't matter at what age do you start doing this kind of stuff, breaking stuff, researching stuff. I mean, it's free for all, right? I used to be a lot of pen testing, incident response, and now I'm doing a little bit more malware analysis in my current job. I in one of in the really famous antivirus in the world. I can say it. I have been contributed with NSE script in Edmat for full disclosure, uh, vulnerability in SAP NetWeaver 7.0 that I just found, and I show how to exploit this vulnerability. It is not so fancy. I just found a way that sometimes these kind of systems just had like guest permissions in some functions, so you can take full control and do a lot of things with that. But that's me. So the agenda is how I start in this challenge. All start as in a CTF challenge of another uh, con that it was run in Mexico. Then next one, it was another example that as Rafael said, I was doing nothing at the 10 p.m. in the night, and some friend just text me, "Hey, do you want to get some fun with some analysis that I have issues with?" And I said, "Yeah, let's take a peek." So I just started applying knowledge. Then, as my experience, I had been a lot analysis for the Mexican government, that as the all the governments around the world has a lot of attacks, a lot of phishing, a lot of spear phishings, and so I grew up there uh, a lot because it was like my playing ground, like my sandbox. Because I know all the things that they could give me, it was going to be really interesting just to watch out. And finally, my most huge thing that I have been done, it was to analyze the WannaCry in the few hours after it was in the wild. I mean, I was not the first one. I was not like that the only light in the world. No, no, I just did it just for fun and for my job, and just make like a report in that days just for the corporation that I worked about. So the first one, it was I have just to open my mind, because I used to be, as I define myself, as a monkey with a hammer, just crashing things as a pen tester, because you only want to break things, right? You sometimes don't have this vision, and it was my case that I never thought about how the defenders act just to detect us. So in this job, they offer me just to attend training in the SANS, the 508. It's the incident response and advanced mal and the advanced forensics analytics. So I was really starved about, no, that's not for me, and so. But when I took it, it opened my mind and my eyes just to a new set of skills, like how to analyze the things that the attackers do, right? Then the CTFs, then try to master a little bit of the protocol, the TCP/IP. Did it started when I was like 14, and then I grew up with until the university that I took a lot of classes of networking, switching, routing, and so another cool skill that you might like just to develop is the bash and some kind of a script language like Python or Ruby or Perl or whatever you like. Just try just to learn how to automatize things, because some of these analysis is a little bit like repetitive, or you have just to try just to find out the strings in text or a lot of things, right? So my best things just to learn, it's these three baseline things, but you have just to learn how systems works and try to understand how what things happen inside of operating systems and the differences between them. So the first one, it was this CTF challenge that I just went through. It was a really hard one, because it start as a web page that when you check the source code has a little glitch that you saw, that the developer defines the color as a word, like background, it's equals just to red, but a few lines down you saw that they define once again the color, but with a hex, the hex, so the hex numbers. So I just start asking, that's really weird, because I don't see like two different colors in the background. It was just one, so it doesn't make sense. So when I took this hex and just passed through to the ASCII, I saw a word, so I just started like solving around, and it was like a big puzzle. That is a huge recommendation that I always try to explain to people. CTF, it's like a big puzzle, and sometimes you don't have to be like an expert just to try CTF, because in a CTF you are going just to learn a huge bunch of things. Yeah. And then I just start reading things and try to analyze how the coder works. Like some developers thought, because I have here these sad conversations, that if they have just to cipher things, you just have to encode it with base64 or root 13 or something like that, and are you sure this is a cipher? That's like encode thing, and a lot of people know how to decode things, so you should try just to do a lot of another thing like blowfish, or I don't know, another thing, but that one's that it's not cipher, that's encoding. So that's a really good point just to understand. And another tool that I just found and start using a little bit, it was the immunity debugger that immunity has a really cool tool uh, around. It's a pentest framework. So let me go a little bit back just to show you a little bit how what I face in this challenge. So in this challenge, you can see. Let me do this a little bigger because I bet it's going to be so little, and you can see some spoilers here. So basically, what I saw here, the first file that I found, it was this one. So I'm going to show you how to analyze these kind of files, or maybe any file as the Ubuntu thing that if it moves compiles. Well, my new phrase, what if it can be executed, or it's a binary, let's analyze. So my first recommendation is whenever you don't know what kind of file are you missing around, the first command is this one. That it's very basic. It's in every Linux or Unix system, and actually it's in the Mac base one, that is an OpenBSD thing. So with a file, you are going to find out what kind of file is this one, because what is this command is going to do? It's going to check the first hex numbers in the file, and as a normative for all operative systems, there is like a rule that when you try just to check what's the combination for how to classify a file, uh, every operating systems know that if a file starts with these numbers, it's an image, and it's a BMP, or it can be a PNG, or I mean, this is just a short sample of the difference between images, but actually there is numbers for a portable executable, an ELF, a Mac O. So you can always try to find out what kind of file you are missing around. So this is this is very useful, because sometimes you don't know, like if I do a cat with this one, I'm going to see nonsense things, but at the end I'm going to saw this. And so I mean, it is quite difficult just to try to guess what kind of encoding or something they are using. But with the file, I have more clue that it's encoded with this kind of thing, the UU encoded. So if I just run UU the code to this file, and let me show you how it's going to see. This is the file by the way, just was doing some exercise before, because as you know, in these kind of presentations, when you attempt just to make wrath to the god of the demo, he just strike you down with your demo. It's not going just to work. So if I run this command, you are going to see here how a new file is going to be created. So as soon as I do, he is decoding, and he is showing a new file that it's called Evil Loud Rocks. So if one more time I just run the file to the new file created but this decoded, I'm going to see that this thing it's a zip file. And if I just move this thing to a new and rename it with the zip one, I have a lot of chances just to decompress it. But the weird thing in the CTF is when as soon as I try just to decompress, like with this application, he is going to tell me, hey, this is something really weird. But for the other hand, I can do that. And he is asking me where I want us to be decompressed. So I'm going to tell him here, extract, but he is going to ask me a password, and the password used to be this. Uh, it it was contained in this other challenge that it's here. It's in this function. This function it's really fun because it's a really good, it's a really real one. I bet you guys have seen this kind of obfuscation in a Java script. These kind of things that it's name packed, and they use a lot of new replacements and a lot of things just to try and just to confuse. But the first, you have to train your eye just to start like seeing patterns like these ones, like B3, B1, or maybe we can try to see the B2, B5. So the first half an hour I spent the time just trying to solve out how this can be done. I knew that this was like, or looks like a B64, but as soon as I tried to decode it, the B64 say to me, yeah, that some operations what has not permit, that it has like not characters allowed, that it was these ones. So as soon as I pay attention a little bit more, I saw this, and I started just to strip down and just to uh, try to decode it. But once again, I was not paying attention that these things has an order, so I just to scramble around, and so that they have this another, they give me like another files that it was called, and it was really fun, that it was ninjas do not cry, and it was ABC. So inside that one you have to do more work. And so that took my skills to another level, because I have just to start messing around with Python, that try to make a function that take this kind of streams, scramble inside, generate me new files. And in the moment that I found that the correct file was just constructed, it was like, okay, next step. So that was like my first use of my new skills, came from this part of the blue side then. And then, as I told you, one time in the night at 10 p.m., I was just messing around in the TV with my wife, and some friend of mine just text me, "Hey, do you want to try just to help me out with this new attack that I have some issues, because my admins in my work are really freak out because one of the servers has a high load use of the CPU, and they cannot figure out what's happening inside." So I was, yeah, just give me a second. So I jump out of the bed and turn on the computer, and he showed me uh the best attack that I have ever seen, and I mean really amazed, and I just learned that when you keep it simple, sometimes it is worth that try just to make like a full full new exploitation with complex things. Sometimes that is a little bit more complex that the specific thing, right? So let me show you guys how this was. So the first thing that I get was the zip, and the zip has these files, and then I just was like a paranoid guy. Now I just run always a file into my file, and it says it was empty, so it was okay. That's really weird. So I just going to check, yeah, and it is really empty. So it was so weird, that kind of file. So I just move around, and I saw that the IPS it was populated. So my next one, it was going to be the IPS, and it was a text one. So I just tried to go with the cat and try to do the IPS, and the IPS show us that this server has communicated with very short times to these IPs, and these IPs was really suspicious because they was not related with the infrastructure of these corporations. So that was the first clue that we have that something was not right there. So once we saw that, we start messing around with this kind of scale, the scalable press. The scalable press, it's really interesting. So in the scalable press, we found this script that it was so basic. As you can see, it says that it's going to download a kind of a crypto miner binary, and it has like a Tor inside. He starts just to naming like the paths, and trying to download with different kind of methods like the curl, wget, Python. So he was trying just to download a piece of thing without knowledge what was running in that box. So he tried like the three most common, that it's the curl, then the wget, or the Python. And as soon as he do that, he is start just to move around the content to the temp or to the def null, that it's a common folder that every system in Unix has permissions just to write and read, and actually sometimes you can execute there, and that kind of information comes from the blue side and the red side, because as a pen tester you have to know where to drop your files or your things in some systems, right? So this was the first clue, and it smells really bad, because we start thinking that they was trying just to abuse in the server, and they check the status of the server, start trying just to kill things, just to erase any kind of track, and just messing around with this simple bash script. But the most cool thing about this, let me try just to show you, it was this one, DHCP server. This ASCII art is really fun, because it says, in God we pray to avoid bugs. If you translate it in Google Translate, it's like a common, I don't know if it's a joke or it's an actual thing that some Chinese or Japanese people do just to avoid bugs, right? So, but as soon as we saw this kind of behavior and start seeing this was really the main thing, because when the administrators of this server was trying just to track down what happened, they just tried to analyze the processes running in the computer, and they didn't see anything weird, anything like said I am a hacker or super hacker or hackster thing. No, no, no. They just saw common processes, but one of the processes that was called DHCP servers, it was taking all the resources just to execute himself, and this thing was loaded into a cron routine, and every minute the cron was uh, programmed or set up just to check if he found this file inside of a specific folder. He doesn't do anything else. But if he don't find this script, he just start just to download it and install it and run it once again. So if someone just saw this kind of file and kill the process and kill the file, you was safe for 1 minute, but at the next minute, the cron do his job and once again started. So as you can see, these kind of attacks, it's quite simple, but it is really clever how how the people just try to mimetize with the environment and doesn't like just to yell to the world, hey, I'm hacking your server. No, they just want to be really sneaky, and they success a lot with this thing. We took like three nights in a row just to figure out what happened here, and we tried just to solve out, and we did, and we were really happy because this friend can show a little bit of explanation about this case, right? So going back to my presentation, then the next case was how to use a really good set of tools called the audio tools. The audio tools allows you to analyze the Microsoft Word files like Word or Excel, and sometimes they have this obfuscation macro in Visual Basic, so you can check without open them. You can see what's going on with that file, right? So let me show you this example, and you can see here in this folder I have this preview. As you can see, the BBVA Bancomer, it's a huge bank and it's really known around the world. But in Mexico, we have this campaign that affects not only the Mexican government, but actually a lot of users trying just to fish them out with this kind of thing. And as you can see, they try to show you like an error that the content of this document cannot be shown, and they are so kind to you that they are trying just to show you how to enable the macros inside just to do the file do his work. So just to avoid that, you can check this GitHub repository that it's all the tools, and you can use them, and it's a really good set because with just one command you can see. For example, I'm going to run it against the what was the name of the file, the Vancomer. Okay, so as soon as I run, he is going to show me first of all that the macro has a lot of nonsense things like this attempt just to download something from, oh, I mean, he's using this library just to attempt to download a file, and then he's just trying to use this shell just to execute some things that I don't know, and then you can just try to see this kind of URL, but this URL, yeah, they have this substitution thing with the F, and they do like a scramble. So he is going to tell you, hey, this keyword, it's really suspicious because he has some variables. He's trying to open a file. He's trying just to execute a command. He is calling some external thing. He is doing some library. He's trying just to download. He is doing the string reverse, that is just to put backwards some kind of a string. Then he is using some hex string, and he is using some base 64 strings. And I bet this tool is going to be really useful for some people that might be in a SOC or any kind of blue team thing, because sometimes in a SOC you have like a lot of flaws, right? A lot of things comes out, and sometimes you want just to thought a little bit closer that what's happened in a file, if it's phishing, and if it's phishing, how you can help to identify it a little bit quicker. So maybe with these kind of tools that, as you can see, they are free, they are open source, and they run in the most Linux and Unix boxes. You can have like your own virtual machine and just drop down some files there, and trying just to help out to identify this kind of behavior. And as I said at the beginning, this is focus in new people or people with this blue team profile, that they want just to keep growing his understanding of how the malware acts, right? Because this actually, in the words of attack, this is known as a dropper. A dropper, his main function, as the name said, it's just drop a thing inside of a system. And how they doing things like this, like obfuscation macro with calling the internet, and just put it down in a specific path, and then just trying us to execute it, right? If anyone has any question about my bad English or any other question related to the comments, please feel free just to interrupt me. And the next one, I have this cool picture with this guy that I bet most of you know, that it's Marcus. It was one of the persons that discovered this domain that was called by the first version of WannaCry, and he just jumped in, buy, buy this site, and just publish, because he started just to analyze this kind of malware, and he just noticed that the malware tried just to solve out this domain, and if the domain doesn't respond, he starts just to cipher the machine. So he just bought the domain, and all the machines call the a domain and answers. So the WannaCry just stayed like a dormant in the systems. So he helps just stop out. And I'm not going to the full history because it's a lot of things there. I have the chance just to meet him, sorry, in DEF CON 27, 28, that he was around of the Caesars, and I just took a picture of myself and him, because I was really shocked just us to know him. And this piece of malware was really interesting because it was like a big challenge, because as you know and you remember, it was like the first time that the world saw an infection affecting a lot of systems, like the Germany's train system actually hits Telefonica in Spain. I mean, it was like a really huge wave it was like a big thing. So as I remember, in that Friday, the others start coming from Europe, and before the noon, it just start like the paranoia here in America. A lot of teams was just trying just to respond, just to check what the things was doing. So me, as just a non-expert and a really noob, just discovered that I found some samples in the wild, and I'm just going to show you one because I I catch like 18 of them, and these one was really interesting. So the next few tools that I'm going to show you, it's this one that maybe you are you know about the exit tool. Exit tool, it's going to show you what's the metadata inside of a file, like show you when it was created, what version it is, if it ran in a specific operating system, if it has a GUI, what kind of architecture run, when it's supposed to be created, if it's an executable, if it's a portable, what kind of linker it has, what is the full size of this thing, when it was modified, access and change this. And actually, if someone likes the incident response and the forensics things or side, there is a known word for this table as a MICB, that it's modify, access, create and birth, that all the operating systems use just to classify a new file. Not all the operating systems use the full filters. Some of them just tell you when it was created, when it was accessed, and when was modified. They miss sometimes the birth or something like that. Linux touch one things, Mac touch another things, and Windows touch another kind of things, right? But mostly all of them has these kind of details. So my first thing was, okay, this is a portable executable, but the original number was RAM active X. So this makes a lot of sense, because if you are not old as I am, you do not remember that when we try just to activate it in the educative form, a Windows system, you has to look for specific cracks that they use these kind of words, like the remove the activation or activation removal. So this was clever because they was infecting systems that maybe it doesn't has any kind of license. So this was the first cool clue about this thing. The next one, it was the strings that I have been showing you around. Strings, the the thing that he does is going to show you the human readable things that any binary has. I'm not going to speak if it's an elf, if it's a .x, if it's a match or something like that. It's a binary. It's something that exists. It's just a file. Okay. So with strings, if I run this command, he's going to show me the tail of this file, and it has a really interesting thing that it match with the version of Windows. What it doesn't has like the architecture, but you can saw a lot of things now, like for example, B, C, M, R, T, U, B. So something is happened, and maybe this has something inside, but how we can extract these kind of things without execute it? Because if I execute it, I bet this thing is going to try just to infect us. So if I don't have like a virtual machine or something, I have to take my chances. So my next thing is going to be Bing Walk. Bing Walk, it's a really useful tool. It was born as an analyzer for firmwares, as you can see here in this GitHub. They use a lot when you have this piece of IoT or anything else, like a raw image of a system, like a memory system, or like a forensic system. Being Walk can help you just to walk through that paths and show you what's inside of this kind of files, that it's compressed and a lot of stuff. I really recommend you that have you in your normal tools, because it's going to be really useful. So when I just run the Bing Walk to this exe, he is going to show me that actually, yeah, it has a portable executable from Microsoft, but actually it has these new files containing inside. Yeah. So we are going just to try just to extract them with the simple flag of -e, that it's for extract. So let's see if we have any luck with this kind of thing. And we saw that, yeah, we got it, but there is something different. It has like 0 bytes as the operating systems tell us, but it has this new zip file. And if I want just to open it, the file, it's going to, oh, okay, I want to be extract here, but what's the password? So I was like, okay, that is going to be a really good challenge. So I came back to the original uh, format and just run once again the strings, but this time I just tell myself, you are going to read every freaking line in these strings, and I did. So the first one, as you can see, there is like no sense, but sometimes you start getting like this feeling like this new Seventh Sense. If you are a fan of the Saint Seiya, you are developing this new sense. So you can see now they are popping out some kinds of DLLs that this thing is using. They are trying just to use functions like the Win API maybe. So I just start messing around and reading everything else, because I knew that the password should be around, because when you do something like this, like you try just to weaponize this kind of stuff, you are running against time, so you don't have the chance as an attacker just to make like a lot of complex things, that because you only want just to infect it, right? So I just try just to show you how I discovered this password, because it was really trying just to look for a needle inside of a lot of things without a magnet. So in one of the portions of these strings that I just tried just to show you, it's going to tell us that they are using the zip function, and they are going to tell us that they have like an issue. Let me keep scrolling, and please, God of the demo, allow me just to success in this one. So as you can see, here is the unzip one. So he's doing the extraction of this zip file, and he's just trying just to use the crypto thing just to decrypt the just to trying to decrypt something or to crypt something. So a little bit down, let me try just to pay more attention because it is around here. And you can see these words like wanna cry inside. And this is the one. So when and you see this, he's telling you that it has like here common here errors in the when you decompress a file, and you keep going down and going down, and suddenly we are going to see this one, like the unknown compression, incomplete distance tree, insufficient memory, blah 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 blah, and suddenly a new word appears. WCRY at 123. Kind of cool password, right? So let's try. Let's 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 give it a try one more time. Yep, this is the password, and boom, we just did it. And now the same files just appear in these things. So let's try out to check what they have, because it is so excited, right? Or for me, it was just to uh, start seeing how my little seed start growing up like a plant, and I was really excited in this moment. I was so hyped about seeing this for the first time, that I had the chance just to see a real malware being analyzed by these basic techniques. So my first guess was, as I told you, file B, and it says it's a bitmap. So let's try, right? So let's type MBB to MBB M BMP. Okay, let's try, and voila, we have our first clue. Oops, your important files are encrypted. If you see this text, you don't see blah, 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 blah. And actually, this was the background that this malware changed you and alerts you that you was hit by this thing. And actually, you can see that the image has this link. So it's actually dangerous, because it offers you like a new file just to try to communicate it with them, just to make the payment, and so we have our first clue that it is an image inside. So let's keep moving. So the next file is going to be the C, and it's supposed to be data, right? So let's try to run the strings one with the C, and voila, more information. This is like a new domain. This is like maybe some kind of user. The mail that it was related with this payment, the actual wallet, some kind of URL in the deep web, another file T, and they try just to decompress it, and actually they offer you to help you to communicate it with the Tor network, and if you don't have it, they just downloaded just for you. They are such a nice guy, right? So let's keep moving with the next file. And the next file it's M, and this one has like a text format thing, so maybe it is something else. Let's try just to go for the strings and go for M. Yeah, it looks like that it's some kind like a rich text, right? It has like Roman, like charset times New Roman in Hebrew, in times New Roman seer. So this may be like some kind of a Word document or something else, but I'm not going just to open it up because I don't know what's inside, but it is just look like it's a new format. So the next one is going to be R. And the R has a lot of ASCII text, so it's going to be maybe more information about it. And yeah, it has like a new document saying, hey, what's wrong with my files? Well, your files are encrypted, so you are not going to be able just to have access. So you have to obey these instructions or follow it in order just to decrypt this information. So what do you need to do? So you need to pay for the service. This is the email, and this is the address. So as you can remember, these are variables, and I bet these variables are related with this information that we have over here. These ones, I bet they just set like these bars inside of this other thing, so they can just modify the different wallets, the different emails in case they got banned really quick, so they can just change the text in an efficient form, right? So the next one is going to be T. I hope I'm not worrying you so bad with this thing. So it's a file, and it says again it's a data. So let's try just to see if it's the data with the strings. Nope, it doesn't look data, or maybe it's data but in binary form or something like. It doesn't have like any information that we can use like really quick. So okay, just let's make sure that it doesn't have any cool thing. And as you can see, I'm not like overthinking, like trying just to solve out if it has like encoded or decoded or encryption. No. I just checking if it's something that I can use. I use it, and if I can just the first time, I'm just going to pass through and just to next to the next file. So this one, it's the most interesting piece because as you can see, it says that it's a portable executable in 32 bytes in the architecture or 386 for Windows. So this might be the crown of the jewel of the crown. Sorry. So bingo, we have a winner. And do you remember that the first one that we analyzed doesn't show you like all of this information, and just hold your beer. You are going to see the most cool thing when I start screaming around in my office. The exact command of this piece of malware do just to become invincible. A lot of people ask how WannaCry stop the safe things, because as you know, in Windows 7 and so Windows 8, 8.1, 10, and I guess 11 has the same things. They improve a new system of backups. They understand that the backups, it was a more efficient if you just saved new new changes to a file and not the entire file. So that was called shadow copies. So the shadow copies, it was able in most of the systems. I can't recall if it was like default or you have just to turn on, but if the machine has it on, this thing just tell the machine, please delete all the shadow copies from the admin, erase it all, quiet mode. Quiet, it means that it doesn't show up any kind of pop-up or any kind of window asking permissions. Yes, no, 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 no. It is just happened. And then it tried just to go to the WMIZ, that it's a thing in Windows, and it's tell him that actually please the shadow copy of the shadow copy just delete it too, and be edited, and please set default blah blah, and ignore any errors, and please set the directory to the default one, and do not recovery please, and delete the entire catalog quiet please, because I don't make any kind of noise. This one, this command was my most success thing that I have ever did with this, because I just start screaming, please tell all our customers that start uh, messing around with the shadow copies, try just to lock down the shadow copies. I'll try just to move the permissions. I mean, just try just to contain these kind of attacks. So as you can see, this one was the actual binary or the executable without any protection. As you can see, it doesn't has any packer or any encryption other than the first password in the first hexe. And actually, you can see he's trying just to enumerate shares. Yeah, he these ones, if someone uh, saw this WannaCry, these kind of files was created in your desktop in order just to recognize what kind of user you were, and it was used when you try just to pay the ransom for these guys. They ask you to pay to share these kind of files, right? Because as you see, they are a lot of connections. He used a lot of the Win API, and so yep. So we just do our first malware analysis without touch any assembly, without touch any fancy tools. That don't get me wrong. It is really cool. Find and understand these frameworks like Radare right here, like. Like Radare, like Ida Pro, like Ghidra, but sometimes it requires a lot of study before you can actually do a thing in these cool frameworks, because they are really, really complex. So for me, this experience, these tool sets that it looks really, really basics can help you a lot, because you can have it mostly in everywhere, and you can run your test without just executed a thing, and maybe you can have these kind of cool uh, findings just to be shared with your customers, with your SOC, or with your incident response team, right? So that just my final thoughts about this. What could be the next step? Where should I go from here? Where I'm going to say that please keep going. Please don't think that this is so complex. It, it is just a lot of practice, a lot of patience, and the patience, I think, it's one of the mindsets that in this world that hacking, that it's like a challenge, right? Because the patients make you be so starved to keep trying and trying and trying. And actually there is like new this famous phrase that some certifications make so famous, like they try harder, right? And they have a point. Just try harder, because when and you do, you learn a lot. So move to the dark side. What I say that because to the dark side for me, it's just to start understanding like debuggers or disassemblers. They are really cool, but be patient. You have to read a lot of books and have a lot of practices just to understand assembly, how assembly works, how the routines are there, and you are going to see new techniques like ROP techniques, or new things like dormants, like the when the malware sense that it is being run in a debugger or in a sandbox, he is going just to try just to sleep over and over, just to avoid to be executed, right? So there is like a lot of things inside. Uh, Check a debugger, because the debugger it is going to allow you to saw the execution in a real time, but step by step. And in the other hand, you can have the disassemblers, because the disassemblers, it's an static way just to show just to check a file, because it is not going to be in execution. It is going just to be in the code. It is going to just try just to give you back like the machine code. And in other cases that I just forgot just to put in there, sometimes you can have a I can't recall what's the exact name, but it is just to trying just to give you back some kind of code, because as you know, most of the binaries when are compiled, they have the code inside, because the code it's there just to be in understood by the machine. And most attackers now, they use these things called packers, that the packer uh, process this kind of executable and run some kind of routines just to cipher the information inside, because they know that that the code it's inside there. So you can bring back some C sharp code, if it is an exe from a C sharp, or from Z, or from Visual C, or from anything else. You can check it with the exif tool. You can try just to figure it out how it happens, or with a packer. Actually, the packer analyzer can give you a really good hand in that way, right? And the finally is the assembly. Try to learn assembly if you like, because sometimes become a reverse engineer, it could be really cool, but sometimes it has a lot of complex that, like most of the jobs, right? But this is my final thoughts. I don't know, this is like the references for the mic numbers, for the tools that I just mentioned. And I don't know, guys, if you have any questions for me, or any other things, jokes.
Hey, Francisco. Awesome, Kat. Man, so that's pretty cool. I have a question here.
Mhm.
They're asking if you can, say some books or how to start assembly and the malware analysis. If you have
Mhm.
some set of books, so some package, let's say,
Mhm.
what they should follow to start.
Actually, I'm not going to say assembly, because assembly for me will be like the last part. I'm going to tell you backwards. One of my favorite books doing this thing. Let me Google it for this. It was it file analysis book. Let me recall it. This one, this is file, this one in my screen. It is a it is one of the most complex books that I have ever read. And I make a joke, if someone has some issues just to get some sleep, please go ahead and read a few pages of this book, because it's going just to help you just to sleep down, because it is really complex. He is going just to explain you, as I told you at the beginning, you in order just to do a malware analysis, you have to understand how the things happen inside, like TCP, as I told you, like the operating systems, and most important, how the files are are managed by the different kind of things. Like, for example, here they explain me the difference between the different file systems. As you know, if you ever wonder why, if you format a USB with a FAT32 format, you cannot copy files over 4 gigs. And if you ever wonder why, this book it's going to tell you why you can do that. And the answer is pretty simple, because the size of the block defined for these formats it's 40 uh, 4096. So you cannot move files over 4096. That it's 4 gigs of information, and it doesn't matter if the USB has like 16 gigs or 32 gigs. If you format in FAT32, there is no be a way that you can move these kind of files. So it is going to run you through really new things, like understanding how a operating system works, a file system works. Try to understand how a compiler works, because sometimes people think that when you just compile your code, you are going to get an exe, as I show you here. Let me go back a little bit. And as you can remember, I told you that an executable, this one, it inside of him, it doesn't have assembly language. This thing has the actual code, right? I mean, this one, it is protected by a zip with a password, but as you can see, it doesn't have any assembly. It has references to these kind of files, because they must be converted to assembly when the machine's trying to understand it, right? But you have to understand what's the process of compiling code, what happened. For another example, this book it's going to explain you sometimes that if you have a process in your machine, it doesn't matter which one, this process has to have a file in the disk as a references. So if in your machine are running like 100 of processes, they must be 100 of files coming from this process. I mean, from these files, they come the process, right? And if any process doesn't have references from a file in the disk, you have a winner. You have someone that just inject you a new process, or it's doing some howling process attack or something else. So I just going to tell you, learn the very basics, learn how the operating system works, and after that you have this in mind, you can now try to understand the next part, that it's malware, and after that the assembly language. So just try to be patient and not try just to run out into the assembly and just try just to solve out what's the difference between 32 and 64, because it is actually a differences, or between ARM and the regular one. So it just keep the basics and keep it simple, right?
Cool. Man, I don't think we have more questions right now. So if something pops up, I redirect to you. And when you have time, so just you can send me the presentation and something, and then you can share it for everyone.
Sure.
In the BHack Conference network.
Sure,
Okay.
sure, yeah.
Man, so again, thank you so much for your time, so sharing this knowledge during the weekend for all the people, and awesome talk. And again, thank you so much. Rafa, do you want to say something?
If anyone, and I really offer any time that I have this chance just to share, if anyone want to pick me out in Twitter, that's my handler. Yeah, I usually just make jokes around, share news and tools and things, and I'm a really I complain about a lot of things, but if you hit me with a question, hey, do you mind just to help me out with this thing, or can you recommend me like a path or something? Please feel free just to contact me here in Twitter, and I be really happy just to come back to you with any comments or any recommendations. I be there. Okay.
Cool, perfect. Thank you so much, man. So
Muchas
have a nice
gracias,
weekend.
Leon, por su participación.
No, gracias a ustedes por la invitación.